Alrighty, guys, welcome traders to our weekly webinar. It is Sunday, March 12th, 2017. Thank you guys so much for being here. If this is your guys' first time here, if you guys have never been here before, my name is David Schinkel. I'm the CEO and founder of Positive Traders. I hold this Sunday weekly webinar every Sunday. That way I can give you guys an idea of, you guys can kind of see my view of the markets and kind of get maybe some trading ideas of where the markets are potentially going. Also, again, if this is your first time watching this, please definitely take my analysis with a grain of salt. I've got about 4 years of trading experience. So, I'm not a perfect trader, and it's not like 100% of my trades are right. So definitely take that into effect. And then also, do take into account that a lot of my analysis that I talk about is based on the higher time frames, like the weekly time frame and the daily time frame. So these views that I personally am going to be talking about are just my own views, and they're where I believe price to move throughout the week. So it doesn't necessarily mean tonight or tomorrow. This might not happen until Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. But anyways, just to kind of put that little disclaimer out there. And if you guys like what you hear, again, I do these weekly webinars every Sunday. You probably found this through our Telegram group. So if you're in there, I give out sometimes some trading ideas, a free trade or two every week. And then if you really like what you see here, I also have a premium group, which you can learn more about on our website, which is positivetraders.us. So let's go ahead and jump right into things, guys. This week is pretty crazy. There is quite a bit of news throughout the week. So I'm not going to go through every single piece of high impact news, but you can see all throughout the week that there is just a ton of high impact, especially on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, we actually have a bunch of USD news in the morning, bunch of CPI and retail sales news. And then also later that morning, in the afternoon, we have our FOMC meeting where basically they are biased. Okay, there is pretty much almost a guarantee that the interest rates are going to be that interest rates are going to rise on Wednesday. That they're going to be so basically the markets right now are pricing in a rate hike right now. So there's a very good chance that the interest rate is going to go up for the US dollar, which in turn is going to have a positive effect on the dollar. I've talked about interest rates in a couple webinars before, but so you guys can go kind of through our webinars, and if you guys want to learn more about those, or just like Google it. But I'll just say it really quickly. Basically, interest rates going down is going to be bad for the currency. Interest rates going up are going to be good for the currency. So right now they're talking about raising the interest rates or hiking them up. So it looks like it's going to be going from between 0.5% and 0.75% to between 0.75% and 1%, which is an increase in the interest rate. So if that happens, expect probably looking at a bullish dollar. So, this week, the dollar is pretty much going to be moving primarily fundamentally. There's going to be a lot of news moving it. Also, Thursday, there's a bunch of other USD news. There's unemployment claims, the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, building permits is all coming out. There's also bank rate statement with the pound on Thursday as well. So there's a bunch of high impact news this week. So be very aware of what's going on. So this is definitely going to influence our technical trades this week. But overall, if we do see a hike in the dollar, then more than likely we're probably going to see the dollar continue to be bullish. We may even see the dollar be bullish up until the rate hike as well. So my bias is I want to kind of see what's happening in the markets and kind of see where things are going. But I do believe gold could continue going lower if the dollar continues to strengthen. So we saw the dollar pretty much strengthen all last week with the exception of Friday. We did see last Friday, if we go and look at Friday's news on the 10th, we saw non-farm payrolls come out. And although non-farm payrolls came out pretty good for the dollar, okay, actually a lot better than expected, we also saw the unemployment rates go down. If you guys have been noticing the past couple months, the main key event, and I also talked about this last month after it happened, the main key event that has been moving NFP or the news around NFP is the average hourly earnings. and that's the only thing that came out that was actually worse than the forecast. So this was pretty much the main reason for the sell-off on the dollar. So you guys can see if we actually look at the dollar index on Friday, and we go ahead and we look at the daily chart. All last week, pretty much we saw a rally, right? This was last Sunday's candle, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then finally Thursday, Friday's close candle right here. We pretty much saw a bullish dollar all throughout the week. All right, Thursday it kind of leveled off, and then Friday we saw a pretty big decline in the dollar, and that's from that week that week growth, that week average hourly earnings growth on the news. So keep in mind, I'll say like I said last month, and I'll say it again, make sure when you guys look at this news release, you guys aren't just paying attention to the non-farm employment change or the non-farm payroll number, because that's what a lot of people will get sucked into, right? They'll end up looking at this number, and then as soon as they see this number, they'll end up buying the dollar, and they'll completely ignore this number. And that might even be what happened to some people that are even in here right now. So, and that's another reminder of why I don't trade the news. I don't recommend putting in a trade right before the news comes out, or based on what the news comes out. Just kind of let the news play out and kind of do its thing. So anyways, back to the analysis, I think that the dollar could continue to strengthen. If it doesn't, right, if we end up breaking this zone, if kind of this previous zone is broken and we see gold continue moving through here, then we're probably going to see gold continue to start to retrace up. But for right now, again, it's just like how I am every Sunday when the market's open. I'm on the sidelines right now. It's kind of in my head, I'm basically thinking, was Friday's big sell-off on the dollar, was that a fake out? Was that, people taking profits because of the weekend? Was that just NFP, or was that a true trend reversal, right? Are things really trying to move around? So I'm still going to be bearish on gold as long as it stays basically below like 1210. As long as it stays below 1210, I'm going to be bearish on gold. All right, dollar index. Pretty much like the opposite of gold, right? I'm going to be bullish on the dollar. I just talked about this. I think that the dollar still has potential to move up, especially with a rate hike. That rate hike is going to be pretty bullish for the dollar when it does come through. So as long as we stay above, this trend line, pretty much around this level of support, then I'm going to be staying pretty bullish on the dollar. If it ends up breaking through this trend line and we do see a pretty clean break, it could come all the way down to 100.50 or even down to 100, previous lows, as, there's anticipation and profit taking and just kind of, indecision before the actual rate hike. Euro USD, I'm going to be looking for sells in this area. Right, in the area that it's in, and it's possible, that this could be pushing up higher, right? And this is all based on what happens to the dollar right now. Dollar is in a very big sell-off mode right now. We saw Euro USD have a huge increase. The dollar have a huge sell-off on Friday. So right now, I'm just trying to get a gauge on the market. Is this the true move up? Is it looking to move up higher? Or is it looking to just be like, okay, Friday was just kind of like a fake out and we just have an opportunity to sell at some new highs? Don, you said EU have that pull back to the downside and then maybe up to MAs. Definitely possible. Yeah, definitely possible. I mean, I'm just kind of watching right now to see exactly what happens. I mean, we look at the weekly candle, it's going to be pretty bullish looking. Euro USD does look pretty bullish. It may come up to test the 107.80 area, which is this previous double top area, and was also multi-month on a multi-year spectrum to all the way back to 2015, multi-level support and resistance levels. So we're going to be looking, but I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar continues to sell off right now, guys. I wouldn't be continued if the dollar continues to sell off, but I would be looking for strength. All right, USD Swiss franc, looking for strength on this pair. Again, this is all based on, with the dollar index continuing to be bullish as well, because we need a bullish dollar to have a bullish USD Swiss franc. We need gold to keep going lower. We need Euro USD to move lower, because essentially, essentially Euro USD and Sorry, guys. Essentially, Euro USD and USD Swiss franc move the opposite of each other. All right, so if we see Euro USD continuing to move higher, then more than likely we're going to see USD Swiss franc continue to move lower. All right, but it's definitely at this level of support right here. We're waiting to see what happens. Is it going to break the support right here? All right, is it going to break that? Or is it going to hold and continue moving up higher? That's kind of what we're waiting on the sidelines to see with a lot of all these other pairs too. If Euro USD wants to go higher, if it wants to start to move lower. Pound dollar also, same, very similar thing. Now on the daily, it does look like it could be going bullish. Right, we had a pretty big sell-off on this pair. We had two dojis, all right, kind of like exhaustion candles. This does look like it maybe is ready to reverse up a little bit. So this kind of looks like a position we can be selling the dollar. But from a technical level on the 4 hour, it's still moving sideways, right? We need to break out of this flag. If it breaks above this flag and then bounces off of here and then starts to inch its way higher in that area, then I'd be looking for buys for this to go much higher. But as of right now, if price stays below kind of like the 121.85 area, 121.90 area, I'm still looking for selling on this pair. All right, pound yen. Pound yen is a little bit tricky. We're back in this wedge. Can't really say. I've been, even in the premium group, I've been recommending not to trade this pair right now. Not a whole lot of direction going on. We've just kind of been moving sideways. We broke out of this wedge, big fake out, came back and retested it, ended up coming back inside the wedge. We're still back in it. So I just don't like price action in this area. I think there's a lot better opportunities with the other pairs right now, with other pairs in general. So not interested in trading pound yen. All right, AUD USD. All right, we're looking at this pair right now, and we're trying to figure out, is this going to be a reversal on this pair? Is it ready to move back up? Or is it just kind of having like a little bit of a pullback? And that's why we're waiting for the Sunday market to just kind of cool down, let London happen, see what happens. From a technical standpoint, though, again, in this scenario, it does look like the dollar could weaken. We're sitting on some support right here. Okay, previous support, resistance, support. Okay, we kind of bounced off this area. And even on the daily candle also, we have a bullish engulfing candle right here on the weekly. We also have a pretty big tail on this weekly candle. So, it's a little bit difficult to say, is this pair looking to break this consolidation? If it breaks this consolidation and ends up moving lower, then we could definitely see a leg lower. But as of right now, things aren't looking too good for the dollar. Everything continues to be pushing up. So this could be touching the underside of this previous resistance at 76.05. All right, so be careful with AUD USD right now. But overall, I think right now, just very short term, I think that the dollar could definitely weaken. Could see Euro USD continue climbing higher, AUD USD continue climbing higher, pound dollar continue climbing higher, NZD USD continue climbing higher. Danny, you said a dollar index possible head and shoulders. We'll take a look at it right now. All right, guys, New Zealand dollar also, NZD USD. Really big decline last week, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of a retracement. That's 6 days. 6 days of just straight shooting down on this pair. All right, we may see a little bit of exhaustion to the underside of this trend line and then decide to either come down or come back up into this range and then climb higher. Danny, you said possible head and shoulders. Possibly. I see what you're talking about. Yeah, it's possible. Definitely something to look at on the higher time frame. For me to be interested, now remember, with the head and shoulders, for it to be, a valid head and shoulders, just because the top of the right shoulder is formed doesn't make this a valid head and shoulders yet to trade. This is the neckline. What's key with these with head and shoulders is where the neckline is placed at. So once this neckline, which is basically 99.50, if we did see a decline down to this neckline and then a break of it on a retest, I would be looking to sell. But yeah, good idea. Any possible head and shoulders. Don, you said go back to EU weekly. If you can see, there's small resistance. If I'm seeing it right at the opening up of new candles, does that mean something? Let's see, Don. Not exactly sure what you would be referring to or pointing out, Don, right now. This is just the weekly candle that opened. It's been moving up, so it's blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. There's a small resistance. If I am seeing it right at the opening, is that candle means? Let's see. Maybe, are we talking about this trend line possibly? There is that trend line on the weekly, so that's there. Yeah, we're at weekly resistance right now. There we go. Okay. So that's what you're talking about. So we do have weekly resistance in this area. Definitely pushing this pair lower. And so, that's why right now, so even looking at things like that, so you look at it on the weekly, you have that trend line that's kind of pushing price down, but on the daily right now, looking at price action, it looks to be pretty bullish. I personally think overall Euro USD is going to move lower as the rate hike gets closer. But just technically speaking, with the rate hike aside, it does look like the dollar's like weakening technically right now. There's a lot of things that say that the dollar could continue selling off. We're looking at like AUD USD possibly moving up lower. So same thing, NZD USD, if it ends up moving up higher, then that's going to be from a weaker dollar. If we see the dollar continue to strengthen, we're going to see this pair continue moving lower. All right, dollar yen. Same thing with dollar yen, right? I mean, technically speaking, right, we want to be looking to buy the dollar right now because, fundamentally speaking, we want to be looking to buy the dollar because of the rate hike. But when we look at the actual technicals, right, if you guys look at this resistance right here, you see this zone where Friday's daily candle ended up coming up and touching and actually closing below. So I'm really, this is a pretty important level for me, and I want to kind of see what happens in this area. So I'm going to see if price continues to stay below this area. But if we end up breaking last week's highs, if we end up breaking like this resistance area right here, then obviously we're probably looking at this pair moving higher. But for right now, I kind of want to see what happens with it. Again, it all depends on what happens with the dollar right now. And same with USD CAD. USD CAD, we're at some pretty good resistance right now. Okay, you guys can see it's kind of like a resistance area for USD CAD. We're sitting at it right now. It's actually, it's the 50% retracement level, I believe, of this swing level right here. So yeah, you guys can see. So yeah, this purple line is the 50% retracement level of this previous swing high to swing low. That's actually the high of 2016 to the low of 2016. So if we get up near there, then that's going to be pretty intense. Oil has been falling too. So if oil continues to fall, which it still looks bearish, right? It still looks like it's ready to fall more. Then we're going to see USD CAD continuing and climbing higher. Even on the weekly time frame, though, USD CAD looks pretty bullish. All right, guys, go ahead. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them. But again, so here's my analysis for the week. Just a quick recap. So my analysis is that I think that the dollar right now, over the next couple hours, over until London begins, possibly even past London, it might be more than a couple of hours. But right now, technically speaking, it does look like the dollar is looking to weaken a little bit more. It looks like there's a little bit in direction from last week too. And it looks like, we might see Euro USD continue to climb up and, like I said, gold maybe climb up a little bit, pound dollar climb up a little bit, AUD USD climb up a little bit. But ultimately, I think as we get towards Friday and as we get towards the rate hike, we are going to see the dollar strengthen. So it's a little bit difficult right now. Don, you're asking, is that weekly resistance? Could you do something or have to look forward? Well, I personally, with the weekly resistance, just because I wouldn't trade just based off of one trend line. Obviously you can have this trend line here, but I would take into consideration where possibly, today's candle closes at. Look to see where today's daily candle closes. And if the daily candle closes above this trend line, then yeah, possibly we have opportunities to be buying this pair this week. But if it closes below this trend line, then it may be showing some pressure on the sellers and some pressure on some strength on the dollar. Exactly. Yeah, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, guys, also, just a little announcement. Don't forget if you have to change your clocks, it's daylight saving started today. So I am now 3 hours behind Eastern time, and I'm the same time as California now. Other than that, that's the only big difference. Again, if you guys liked what you heard today, we've got the premium group out there. We give out about an average of 10 signals. Last week, we ended up in the positive as well. Week before that, we ended up definitely in the positive as well. We've the daily live sessions, Monday through Thursday, and we have our trade copier, which is doing pretty good. So lots of fun things, guys, to look forward to. In the premium group, lots of good signals throughout this week. Definitely, even with the news, I think that's going to still give us a couple nice opportunities to get some good trades in the premium group. But, we are going to be a little bit on the cautious side this week because of FOMC. We kind of want to see what the hike is going to do to the dollar. Although, as I mentioned, this should be an overall strengthening to the dollar. So we should see new lows eventually on Euro USD and things, the markets, moving and cooperating in the near future. So other than that, guys, I'll go ahead and throw this on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a good week throughout the week. Keep those risks low, 1 to 2%. And other than that, have a great week, guys.